birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. Oh guys, I'm very, very happy today. We're celebrating the national holiday of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. For us to start, I would like to thank Stevie Wonder. He deserves a lot of praise for making sure that this holiday is a reality. Without him, this holiday would not have happened. So let's give a hand to Stevie Wonder. Happy birthday, Dr. King. Thank you very much. Everybody in the world, I think, knows who Dr. King is. Dr. King is a civil rights leader, he's a Nobel Prize winner, and he's also a Baptist minister. Even though an assassin has snatched him away from us, we have to remember Dr. King because he left a legacy. And we also remember him because of his Christian values. When we think of Dr. King's legacy, we think about the speeches he left us, which live on. How can we forget these memorable speeches of an orator of the level and caliber of Dr. King? So one of the speeches almost everybody remembers is, "I have a dream."
So even though the face of today, I still have I have something. This is I have a dream that one day my four little children, that they live in a peace. I have a dream. That I have a dream that one day and this is the best thing. This will be the day. This will be the day when all of us
So today, let us not just celebrate, let us think. When Dr. King says, I have a dream, an American dream, let us look at this dream. Let us reflect. Let us look at the political dimensions of this dream. Let us look at the social dimension of this dream. Let us look at the economic dimension of this dream. Today, in the wake of Donald Trump, how is Dr. King doing? That's a question we need to address. Dr. King's dream is still alive. Trump cannot bankrupt Dr. King's dream. Today, since President Trump came into office, he's made a lot of changes. He has introduced so many immigration issues which are being debated now. One is DACA. When Obama was president, he tried to help children of immigrants who have just come into the country, who were under 16. But now, President Trump is about to sign legislation to make all these changes, to disbar and kick these people out of the country. Is that fair? Of course not. So many of us are involved. We have families who are involved in this problem. So what should be done? Then there's also chain migration. Even though Mary McLeod, Donald Trump's mother, was an immigrant who benefited from chain migration, even though Donald Trump's German family benefited from chain migration, today President Trump wants to banish any law which makes it possible for people to benefit from chain migration. Is that fair? We don't think so. Then there is border security. It is true, we all want border security. But Donald Trump had told us he's going to build a wall and he would make Mexico pay for it. Today, the con man is telling us Mexico is not going to pay for it and he wants Americans to pay for it. Is that fair? We don't think so. Worst of all, it is the diversity visa program. This program has been helping Americans acquire new help from overseas. There are services that Americans cannot provide. People come from out of the country and provide these services. Through the visa program, America is able to attract quality labor. Okay? But today, Donald Trump wants to stop this program. Is that fair? Is that good for America? We don't think so. Donald Trump is doing so many things that are really going to hurt this country, and we think it is wrong. Which is why we agree with Representative Steve Cohen, who is drafting articles to impeach President Donald Trump. So let's celebrate. Trump is gone. Trump is gone. Trump is gone. So when we look at Trump, we cannot even compare President Trump with Barack Obama. President Trump does not have class. The rhetoric of racism is his language. He speaks like a thug. He doesn't speak like a president with dignity. When President Obama was in office, he brought us hope. He was a comforter-in-chief. He made us aspire to something big. But President Donald Trump is only showing what is wrong with America. White supremacists should not really be a model for any of our children. But these are the type of people President Trump spends time with. Well, if he's thinking they're going to make him become president after the next 4 years, he is dreaming. It's not going to happen. And Robert Mueller's case is still going on. And we are thinking President Donald Trump is going to impeach and he will be in serious trouble. He cannot even benefit from Obama's legacy. He's making noise, and we don't want this kind of president because he's not really doing much for the country. So for those of us who have issues with immigration under Donald Trump, I have 2 lawyers that I've benefited from, and I will refer them to you gladly. The first one is Daniel Beach in Washington, D.C. The second one is Edwin Fogam in Maryland. If you need help, these 2 lawyers can really help you deal with most of these issues of immigration. So I would advise you to contact them. You can Google their names and find out how you can reach them. So next, we'll have to start looking at how Africans are going to be affected by most of the changes President Trump is introducing. So we need to start thinking about our African dream. The other day, President Trump was insulting us as shithole countries. That's wrong. Instead of us getting angry, I prefer that we should feel sorry for Trump and challenge ourselves to do better. We are in America because our countries are having problems. So each African who is in America, I have a message for you. We need to do stuff to change the destiny of our countries in Africa. So that's the next part of our show. We're going to start talking about the African dream. The African dream means that we need to start looking at ourselves as missionaries. We need to return to Africa as change agents. We want to change our nations in Africa so that we can dream about something big. We want our nations to be a place where we can really live well without thinking about coming back to America and receiving insults from people like President Trump. So this will start first by us visiting President Barack Obama's speech.
I stand before you as a proud American. I also stand before you as the son of an African.
With those words, Barack Obama, the first U.S. president to address the African Union, encapsulated his personal interest in seeing Africa's continued economic and developmental growth.
It is long past time to put aside old stereotypes of an Africa forever mired in poverty and conflict. The world must recognize Africa's extraordinary progress.
Mr. Obama hailed the continent's gains, from a plummeting HIV/AIDS infection rate to millions of Africans being lifted out of poverty, while highlighting the U.S. role in boosting trade, improving food security and infrastructure. Without naming China, a large investor in the continent, Mr. Obama emphasized what he said sets the U.S. apart in its investment in Africa.
Economic relationships can't simply be about building countries' infrastructure with foreign labor or extracting Africa's natural resources. Real economic partnerships have to be a good deal for Africa. They have to create jobs and capacity for Africans.
But the American leader cautioned the continent's progress, quote, rests on a fragile foundation, with hundreds of millions of Africans still living in extreme poverty without access to basic infrastructure, while dealing with what he called the cancer of corruption. He received a rousing response when he talked of how progress in Africa depends on democracy that goes beyond just formal elections.
When journalists are put behind bars for doing their jobs, or activists are threatened as governments crack down on civil society, then you may have democracy in name but not in substance.
Mr. Obama said he did not understand African leaders who refused to step aside when their terms end, noting his own time in office was coming to a close.
I love my work, but under our Constitution, I cannot run again. I can't run again. I actually think I'm a pretty good president. I think if I ran, I could win. But I can't.
President Obama ended his speech by echoing his remarks in Kenya, where he urged the empowerment of women and girls. He said respect for human rights, equality, and the dignity of all people is the true path to progress and opportunity, not just in Africa, but all over the world. Aru Pandey, VOA News, Addis Ababa.
He made this speech in Africa at the African Union in Addis Ababa. And it was a rousing speech because he touched on a lot of the themes, topics that Africans need to pay attention to. Politically, President Obama emphasized that Africa really needs genuine democracy. We need to have a system where there are checks and balances. We need to have an executive, we need to have a judiciary, and we need to have a judiciary at the same time. So we have three branches of government: the legislature, the executive, and the judiciary. So with all these three branches of government, we have powers that are separate but equal. We will not be having a whole lot of trouble the way you're having trouble today, like in South Sudan. Since South Sudan became independent, they've been having problems, fighting every day. So we don't need fights if the system is well developed and we have checks and balances. There's no one-man rule. Power is divided into three parts. Each branch of government handles stuff. By contrast, we have Tanzania, which is another country, which is showing you new promise. Since Julius Nyerere became president of Tanzania, he has really made sure that there is transition, which is really steady and effective. Today, we have a new president in Tanzania. Most people call him the bulldozer. His name is President John Magufuli. He caught the attention of the world when people saw him going out onto the streets, joining workers to clean the streets of Tanzania.
Tanzania's new president takes to the streets to do some cleanup, inspiring a new hashtag along the way. On December 9th, the recently sworn-in John Magufuli helped hundreds of residents of Dar es Salaam clean up the streets, which he ordered the country to do instead of Independence Day celebrations. Magufuli canceled the celebrations last month, saying it would be shameful to spend huge sums of money on parade decorations and concerts when the country is facing a serious cholera outbreak. Magufuli said, quote, "Let us work together to keep our country, cities, homes, and workplaces clean, safe, and healthy." Tanzania elected Magufuli in October. He's nicknamed the bulldozer for his austerity measures and hard stance on corruption. In November, he slashed the cost of an inaugural parliament party by $93,000. The hashtag What Would Magufuli Do has taken Twitter by storm, with users showing off their budget-friendly solutions to everyday problems. For Newsbeat Social, I'm Molly Reel.
That's the kind of president we need in most African countries. A man of the people, a man who gets dirty. He works with the people to clean the city. He leads by example. He doesn't sit in the ivory tower of an office and gives instructions to people what they need to do. He actually goes out there and does the job, and he shows the people this is what you need to do. So those are the type of leaders that President Obama was talking about. We need to show leadership. We don't want to be like people like President Biya, who wants to stay in power forever. President Biya became president in 1982. In fact, that was the year I graduated from the University of Yaoundé. Up to today, Biya is still president. So if I wanted to be president, for example, when will I be president of Cameroon? I'm ready to go on retirement. So, Biya, think again. People like you are the type of people that Obama is addressing his message to. Africa does not need big men. Africa needs big institutions, strong institutions. So we need strong institutions in the society so that democracy can flourish. And as an example of a strong institution is the AU. Obama spoke a lot about the AU as a good institution to really move Africa forward. In addition to political and social factors, President Obama also mentioned a lot of economic ideas in his speech. He encouraged Africans to embark on free enterprise. The free enterprise system is the engine that will power Africa to the next generation with wealth. We have to make it easy to start businesses in Africa. If we make it easy to start businesses in Africa, we're going to attract a lot of foreign investors who will come in with money to invest in the country. And this would help with youth unemployment. Instead of our youth dying trying to cross the Mediterranean, they will stay home and find valuable work. Then we'll be able to keep our people at home. So this is a good speech, and I would encourage each one of us to listen to President Obama's speech because he makes us proud. President Obama is really different from Donald Trump. You can see it yourself. He was a decent man. He brought us hope. He was a comforter-in-chief. So that's what we need. So we need African leaders to emulate President Obama. Okay, when I look at Africa today, it's really a tale of two cities. You have the rising Africa and you have the falling Africa. The rising Africa consists of nations like Tanzania, Rwanda. In Rwanda, we can find a guy like President Paul Kagame. He took a country that went through the genocide into prosperity, and the country is still going strong. He made a complete U-turn. He took his country away from the French bandits. Now the country is following an English model of development, and things are going well. So we thank President Paul Kagame for what he has done. We also look at countries like South Africa. These are stable democracies. They've had challenges. They became independent, and they are doing good things. Then we have countries like Nigeria. In spite of corruption, Nigeria is doing well. They are trying to maintain the rule of law. Okay? And Nigeria also has their own currency. You cannot have an African country without a currency. When you don't have a currency, you are basically a slave. You are not a country. So we salute Nigeria for struggling to have the Naira, which is their own currency. Then we also have Ghana. A few weeks ago, I was watching a speech made by the new president of Ghana. He was welcoming the new president of France. And he stated some of the themes which we are telling you today.
I hope that the comments I'm about to make will not offend the questioner too much and some people around here. I think there is a fundamental misstatement of the issue in the question. We can no longer continue to make policy for ourselves, in our country, in our region, in our continent, on the basis of whatever support the Western world or France or the European Union can give us. It will not work. It has not worked, and it will not work. Our responsibility is to charter a path which is about how we can develop our nations ourselves. It is not right for a country like Ghana, 60 years after independence, to still have its health and education budgets being financed on the basis of the generosity and charity of European taxpayers. By now, we should be able to finance our basic needs ourselves. And if we are going to look at the next 60 years as a period of transition, a period whereby we can stand on our own feet, our perspective has not to be what the French taxpayer decides to do with whatever surpluses that they have in France. They're welcome. They're appreciated. Whatever interventions that the French taxpayer through their governments make to us are appreciated. We're not going to lick a gift horse in the mouth. But this continent, with all that has happened, is still today the repository of at least 30% of the most important minerals of the world. It is a continent of vast, arable and fertile lands. It has the youngest population of any of the continents in the world. So it has the energy and the dynamism. We have seen it. These young men who are showing so much resilience and ingenuity in crossing the Sahara, finding ways to go across with rickety boats across the Mediterranean to really, those energies, we want to have those energies working inside our countries. And we're going to have those energies working in our countries if we begin to build systems that tell the young people of our country that their hopes, their opportunity are right here with us.
He decided that Ghana is now ready for development. Ghana doesn't need to sit and beg the French for anything. Ghana has to be able to fend for itself. Self-reliance is the motto. So we admire leaders like this who really talk about self-development. They talk and they walk according to what they say. So this is really something really positive. On the other side, we have bad leaders. Like I mentioned, South Sudan. You have Salva Kiir, who has been fighting since his country became independent. President Kiir is a leader who is very paranoid. He's always afraid of coups. He's always worried that people are going to overthrow him. So if you are so paranoid, how are you going to be able to lead the people? Which is why the AU and the UN are telling the leaders of South Sudan to try to make peace and respect ceasefire agreements. There are so many tribes. I know the problems in South Sudan are complex. Colonialism from Britain and Sudan. Then you also have ethnicity as another problem. Then you have religion. So there are so many problems. But also we have the issues of resources. The people are fighting for resources. So we need to address some of these concerns. Okay? That's South Sudan. Then, of course, you have Congo Democratic Republic. So many problems in Congo. Okay? Recently, Kabila, baby Kabila, he doesn't want to leave power. So these are the type of presidents who are creating problems in Africa. So these are countries that are falling Africa. Congo is a very rich country with a lot of wealth. But because President Kabila is selfish and power hungry, he doesn't want to leave power. He is ruling against the people. He is killing people every day. Finally, the politicians in the country are weak. Now the Catholic Church is trying to lead the revolution in that country. So we salute the Catholic Church. I'm a Catholic, and I like what the Catholic Church is doing. The priests are really engaging the Kabila regime to let them know that what they are doing is morally wrong. Killing innocent people is wrong. So we don't like what is happening in Congo Democratic Republic. There's also Togo. So all is not well in Africa. So we have a tale of two cities, the cities that are doing well and the cities that are not doing well. Togo is one of those countries that are not really doing well. For so long, Eyadema took over power from his father, and he has been ruling the country and doing the same thing his father was doing before, stealing the money from the treasury. Now the people are angry. They want him to leave power. He doesn't want to leave. So what is happening now is protests every day. The people are protesting because they are sick and tired of Eyadema, and they want him to leave. So Togo also is a serious problem. Then, of course, we have another failed state, which is the Central African Republic. The UN is really wasting its time. They're not really doing the right thing. A patient is bleeding, and they don't really know the kind of medication to give that patient. That's a problem of the Central African Republic. For a long time, the problems have been ignored, and they are festering, so we need to pay attention to the Central African Republic. So in the end, what we've tried to do is we've tried to come up with a scorecard of all the African countries to give you an idea of how these countries are performing on a daily basis. Our scorecard has been designed by our Board of Economists, okay? The scorecard contains 10 different criteria which we use to judge these countries. Then at the end, we classify the countries into A to Z. Those that are doing well are at the top. Those that are not doing well are at the bottom. What are some of the criteria that we use? Corruption is an important criterion. Democracy is another one. Development, economy, education, feminism, health, peace, poverty, and technology. Those are the 10 criteria our Board of Economists have used to classify African countries. From January until the end of the year, you'll be following our classifications. We'll be making changes to this classification so that you can see how well these countries are doing. So some of the countries that are really doing well are at the top, then those that are not doing well are at the bottom. So you'll be able to see if your country is doing well or not. Then you can engage your leaders and tell them to make changes. So it's just like a child who goes to school. The child receives a report card at the end of the semester. So what we're doing now is we're giving this report card to every African country. And so if your country is not doing well, you have to hold your leaders responsible. Don't let them go free. So leaders need to be held responsible so that they should lead people well. Africa is a rich continent, but we're having problems because our leaders are corrupt. They don't listen to the people. Our leaders rule African countries like thugs. They are like gangs. If you open your mouth, they kill you. So we cannot sit and wait for them to continue looting and taking Africa down. So now is the time for Africa to rise. So with this scorecard, we intend to make sure that you see how well your country is performing. You are the missionary. You are the African missionary of your country. So join the fight. Take it to the dictators. Okay? Now is the time to take the fight to the dictators, and the African dream will be real. Thank you very much. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. once again. Bye-bye.